right.
Yes, and I owe a lot to Mike Neal over the years. Thank you so much.
We're not all bad. Yes,
Hi. Well, before I ask my question, I want to give a plug for Newport News because my husband works in a city across the water, in the south side, and we were trying to decide if we should move to that area to cut his commute. And every time we think about what we've got here in Newport News, and I'm not from Newport News, we keep coming back to wanting to stay here because of the parks, the free outdoor concerts, the Ferguson Center, and City Center, Warwick, everything that we have here. And we live within 15 minutes of Sandy Bottom, Bluebird Gap, Nolan Trail, 20 minutes down to Newport News Park, 15 minutes over to Riverview. What I'm saying is part of why we're staying here is for all of this recreation and activity. So I think we have a lot going here, and I would love, just like everyone in this room, to see Riverview Park become another combination of whatever it is that everyone wants. That's the positive. My question, and I don't know that it's directed for you, or who could answer it, is can the public get a list of the names, addresses, phone numbers of these companies, developing companies, lobbyists who are going to the city council or to our Pat Woodbury or various members, lobbying their point of view for putting up housing and condos?
Absolutely. If I knew of some of those folks, and I don't want to say I can't answer, as I told you before, earlier in the night, the only proposal that I was aware of came last, what was it, November, December?
November.
Right?
From Fry Industries, is it? F-R-Y-E.
Fry.
That is the only proposal that I know. I have not seen anything. I do not know whether or not council is getting different feedback. If so, they have never shared that with me. I'd be perfectly honest though, I don't think that they are.
Could we see a copy of that plan, man, sometime?
I don't know if that's open for public view since that was part of
I don't want to
what
see it.
I just honestly don't
I don't
know.
want to see it.
And if you can, absolutely. I just don't know if that was made available for public view.
I have some comments. I'm a member of the American Planning Association, and been all throughout my career. And what they do and what they're good at is working in tough problems like this, where there's a lot of division and upset, and trying to get consensus. And they work. One thing they're good at is working with the public.
I don't see a whole lot of vision. I think we're all in.
Yeah, I understand, but there are other issues. The council obviously is not ready to deal with this as a part. It's pretty obvious that they're not going to do it, and they made that clear. They're waiting for this archaeological study to be done. But my question, I think if you're going to have a group run a process, the American Planning Association is a good one to be doing it. And I think the planning department is a good one to be running it. It's not the development department is doing it. It's the planning department. And they're used to working with the public and everything they do. It's been the culture of the planning department to do that. And I think you now have a city manager who's much more open and willing to work with the public than the prior one, who was very clear that he was not sympathetic to working in citizen groups. But I have two questions, Cindy. One was the comprehensive plan is underway, and you think you sort of touched on it. What is the planning? What's the plan going to show for this property while all this stuff's being done? You know, this process.
Understudy.
So we show understudy.
Understudy. My understanding is there was a meeting last week, and I won't say consensus, but in general, the group agreed that that was what it needed to show for now in the comprehensive plan moving forward, until we could go through, I'm going to say the P word, the process. If somebody has a different word they'd like me to use, but again, and I understand Dr. Woodbury's perspective, and I will talk to council members again, but the direction we had, going back to prior to me being the city manager, was to come back. They want to look at the options and the opportunities for this particular piece of property, make sure it's being used in the best interest of all citizens.
And the other question I have, and maybe Mike will answer this one. And I really don't understand why it's necessary to do the archaeological study, which is this covering a 58-acre site. Why it's necessary to tear down buildings that could be used for other purposes in the interim. Like, I've been in that cafeteria, the kitchen, it's a large room that could be used for events and things while all this other stuff's going on. And it didn't make sense to me, never made sense to me, why we have to tear all these buildings down to do the archaeological study. So that's my other question.
Can I comment on that? The buildings, the only buildings we are removing are the ones slap over Warwick Town.
Yes, sir.
And in order to get at them and look at them and develop them and see what's happened in our history, they have to go. We're not going to tear any other buildings down at all, as far as I know.
The buildings, again, and my understanding is the same as yours. I know the buildings that are going to be torn down, but going back in terms of the history of it, when they did, it's been done in phases, and this is another level of a phase of an archaeological study to determine what is there, and they have to be able to get down underneath it, and that's the primary area where supposedly they've had hits where there might be some artifacts and things.
Not supposedly, we have had hits, man.
Okay. Well, they haven't under those sites, they haven't been under.
But they've had one just across the road. We've done the bottom corner of...
And there's a map, and I'd be happy if, we can get Michael Poplawski and Mike Dealer to come back at some point and show you the maps for the archaeological study and what they'll be doing and give you more information on that. There's a map, and it's got little crosses that show you where they have had hits in the various areas and what they need to do in this particular area, and it's the barracks, which says right in the plan the barracks were coming down anyway. If you recall, if anybody's looked at the plan recently, it said the barracks were coming down, and it's the general cafeteria. Are the buildings in that bad of shape? Not necessarily. Well, the barracks are. The cafeteria, maybe not. But I think Parks and Rec will tell you, regardless, if it's a park, you want those buildings down. That's going to be their perspective.
Okay, my name is
Yes, sir.
Leonard Schneider, and I'm from upstate New York originally. I've been out here 40 years, and 60 years ago when I played ball at a recreation park, they had baseball, softball, they had an ice skating rink in the wintertime, and they also had a carousel. There was a big new mayor in town who said tear it down, but every year that I went, twice a year I went to see my parents or my aunt and uncle. Upstate New York, guess what? The carousel was open all year, during all of the winter months, summer months, and it was still free. You get on there, they maintain the little horses, they paint them, and everybody that lived there and their grandchildren, they all come back to the city. So their little kids and grandchildren can ride the carousel, which is free. It's something to remember. I still remember. And that would be nice for them to hear, that they have a park here like what we're talking about. Maybe even, what's the figure, maybe some horses that you could rent by the hour. I know, horses are messy, but be something different. But
Again, we're open. That's what we want to do. We want that keyword to get all your input and all those great ideas. Yes, ma'am.
I've lived here over 30 years, and I've never heard of Watertown or any other archaeological place in the city. I think that, and my daughter went through the school system from kindergarten on up, and they never talked about anything that was archaeologically had anything to do with the city. I think we ought to start putting that out into the city and into the nation. That we have stuff here. It's not just Jamestown and Yorktown and Williamsburg and James City.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that, and for once, I am not an expert, I am not an archaeologist, but from what I understand from talking to the folks that have been engaged in this, what they go out there and find is not going to be a Jamestown, it's not going to be any of those other types of things, but we think it needs to be looked at because we don't know what's there. All indications are that it's not going to be necessarily that significant, and they may do the study, get out the artifacts, or take the things out and relocate them.
but it's significant to Newport News and our history.
It should
And why
be.
wouldn't we know the
The
history?
schools
If
should
we
be
don't,
telling our children about it.
Well, I
Something to be
speak
proud
for the
of.
school system. I got enough.
even though they know our
They'll
history,
teach us.
the young people don't know.
And that may be part of what comes out of this, of
I
what you
mean,
talk about, what you'd like to
it's
see.
being destroyed.
I believe the plan that was done 25 years ago had some type of interpretive center or some other kind of things about the history. Again, those are the ideas that we want to go through this to get. And I understand why we'll just make it a park and then do that. That's not the decision to do at this particular point in time.
2 quick points. Number 1,
Yes, sir.
I've been studying the history of Riverview Farm Park, Deep Creek, City Farm property, over to Denby Plantation for over a year, and the history goes back, catch this, to 1498, 517 years ago, when the Spanish first mapped it. Every major conflict, Indians, colonial wars, pirates, 1812, Civil War, Bacon's Rebellion, you name it, occurred in part on that property and in Deep Creek, because the creek offers the first fresh water and safe passage. And many navies have been there, Dutch pirates. I've summarized this in a brochure out on the table out there, and eventually I'll make a more formal paper. Number 2, I have not heard the marina mentioned. I served on the task force with several others here for 10 years. It was our intent that the marina be part of Riverview Farm Park. We asked the city to purchase it. They did. The city staff made an excellent plan for the use of that property, and someone has been blocking its development ever since. And instead of being zoned park, like we asked, it was zoned light industrial, so the watermen can use it. But the fact of the matter is, when it's zoned park, there are uses that are allowed, like watermen, golf courses, marinas, and so forth. And I would like to see that marina included in the discussions and zoned park as soon as possible. Thank you.
Over there to you, but that keep going.
Who else was?
Just a couple of comments.
Yes, ma'am.
If any of you all are on the water and go up and down the James River or down the Newport News, it's all private property. Very, very little use for the general public to use. And I think it's a shame. It really is. If you're rich in Newport News and can afford waterfront property, you're doing fine. But if you don't have that kind of money, you don't have a whole lot of use of it, and you don't have those great views. I have to drive down Denby Boulevard to the very end to see those spectacular sunsets. And as far as Newport News making money, they have a gem, a jewel in the Newport News City Park and Deer Run golf course. Back in 2012, the pavilion there that hosted many, many events and weddings burned down.
Yes, ma'am.
Guess what we have there now?
A tent. I don't
A
forget.
damn tent. You all should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do a marathon and put all that
You've been
money.
talking to him.
Yeah.
That's not
I'm
right.
serious, I'm serious.
You're absolutely right.
You could make lots of money on that venue, but you won't put money there, but you could put, one day a year, we can run people from one end of the city to the other. Now explain that to me. And I could go on.
On James River, at City Farm Park, have weddings where we could actually see the games.
And that particular venue you mentioned, it has been funded and there has been money to do that before. And unfortunately, when you don't have enough resources, you have to reallocate to other more pressing things.
And they have porta johns out by the tents, so when the bride goes in.
I hear it. It is what it is.
About 10 more minutes of questions.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
The comprehensive plan that has just been updated.
It's not completed yet.
Right, okay, it's under study, comes out of the planning department, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it presented directly to the city?
The process right now, they're doing some final revisions. They've been working with the committee. Again, my understanding, just had an update on it this morning. They're about a couple of weeks away from putting it out for public comment.
All right,
It will
because
go out and it'll
public
be
comment
available.
then, would that be the appropriate time for this group to lobby, to have a referendum, to designate it instead of understudy back as a park? What we're trying to do is to get a designation there. The comprehensive plan of all the things to put there, it's going to take time, agreed upon. What we don't want is to run the risk of having it tabled forever.
Here, here.
To get to your question, though, absolutely, it's part of the comprehensive plan, and the public, I don't know that I'd call it a referendum, but that's the whole point of going out to public, to take a look at the information that's out there, and if you would like to see a different designation, make your opinion known at that particular point in time on the comprehensive.
So we actually could do that. We
Yes,
could come
ma'am.
to city council and say, we want.
Absolutely, and I believe they're going to set up the
We're
website.
asking the city to designate that, vote
As a
on it
part.
yes or no. And that would put them on notice as to where they stand personally.
They could do it absent the comprehensive plan update. They could do it tomorrow if they wanted to. They have just not elected to do that because they want more information on the options and the opportunities for that property.
But the options and the opportunities can be more comprehensive if we have a designation.
Yes.
Absolutely. And they could designate it something else tomorrow.
Yes.
This is why all these
Yes.
people are here on this
And I
cold, rainy night.
absolutely understand that. All I can tell you is that in the short time that I've been working, I have no indication from council that they want to do anything differently than what I described in terms of going through a process and looking at opportunities and options. Yes, ma'am.
It bothered me at several other meetings we've had city council members that have come, and you could tell they were not for this plan. They want to develop. And there ought to be a way that we can contact those councilmen and women, and because all the money cannot just go downtown to further that place. There are several parks down there, but we don't go down there any more than we really want to go up to Yorktown to their park. We need a park here. And it's bothersome to hear the councilmen that really don't want to vote on it because they don't want to say, I'm not for it, but I think they need to be forced into voting for it.
That's the whole thing, they don't want to vote.
I think it's about
Yes,
information.
several of us went to the Citizens Planning Committee for the comprehensive plan just a week ago, I guess. And as far as that process is concerned, it's almost over. So the comprehensive plan is getting ready to go out for public comment. But my understanding is that the recommendation from the planning commission, from the city planners, is to leave it under study.
Yes.
And I think they're going to leave it, and I think that it's going to be a pretty hard sale to get that designated anything else at this point. And they do have a good, at least I think is reasonable as far as when they're doing this comprehensive plan, my understanding is, and this is the first meeting I went to and you guys might have more information, but that this process has taken way longer. It was going on for a couple of years before the person who's running it now got there, and that it's taken much longer than it should have, and it kind of got out of hand and nobody kind of cordoned it in, and so there's a need within the city, I think, or at least in that department, the planning department, where they seem to feel like they really want to get it out there. And then they can go and take each one of these pieces and develop them more. But as far as that particular document is concerned, I think the ship is almost sailed, so we may want to focus on
If
something
you
a
don't
little
mind,
bit different.
kind of yes,
But that's
yes
sort
and
of
no.
what the-
They'll put it out for public comment, and the process will start, and then there's various agencies that have to review it as part of, it's the law that they're required, some state agencies that are required to view it also. And then it gets in front of the planning commission, and there's more public meetings and public hearings, and then it gets in front of city council. But to go to your point, we're right now thinking it's going to be late October, early November before it even gets in front of city council. So while the process that they've done with the committee is over, the public input process open to the public is by no means even close to being over. Yes, sir.
Why do the city council knows everything, like the plans more than the public? Like President Obama, Donald Trump.
I think he's saying that why doesn't the public have an input? Why does the plan come from city council, is that right?
Well, agreed. Why is it that initially, I think when, from our perspective, that plans, when you initially met with Fry, that was a closed door session. And then by the time the information was inputted back out to the public, we, the people, that you, as I've been listening, that this park is our park. I take my children there, we play, we have a lot. But the initial meeting was closed door. When we drive past, there are dump trucks, there's construction, there's everything. It's torn up. So all of these things agreed as you're coming in on the 28th day of March. But where was the input from all of us collectively, because this is our venue, prior to? It seems like a lot of less process after the fact, and to agree to acknowledge, to atone after the fact. But where was all of this prior to? Before the land was taken or destroyed, or to look, we should have I feel that as we collectively should have been addressed, should have known, we should have been asked and informed so that we could have collectively had invested input.
I absolutely understand and
moving
respect your
forward,
position. And
moving forward, where, when you talk about transparency, the openness, where would that be for us? Would that be on your site? Would that be so we have the documentation of all of the other legalese that has gone through, the promoters, the people that you're looking for that come out, the developers that you're talking about putting up, the all of the other collective archaeological studies, all of those other things that as we collectively use this park, it might not be a lot of the demographic that you see, but we are all very vested in looking forward, and would like to be able to see what the input is. You know, as if it seemed like more of that's closed door, that is not communicating